All right. Okay, sweet. It looks like we're live. Hello, everyone who may or may not be there yet. Today, I'm really excited to have one of my clients with me to talk about her journey with my course, the Action Navigator. Super excited. Her name is Lisa. And goodness, I think we have now known each other since January or February this year. So, really excited to get to talk to her today. Going to go ahead and bring her on. Hello.
Hi, Cassie.
All right, let me make sure and I get the questions up so I don't have to depend on my brain to do all that work for me. Okay, so first question today is like, who are you and what do you do with your precious time and energy? So anyone who's here live and or watches the recording later can really get a feel for who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm Lisa Trish, and I am 61 years old, and I live in New Orleans, and I am currently writing a book, creative nonfiction, and I write poetry. I'm trying to finish the book that I'm writing, and that was part of the reason I took Cassie up on this thing. I found her videos and love them. And I just have some issues with getting organized and staying consistent. And my energy level is not consistent. So I was really excited about the program. So
Oh,
that's who
yeah.
I am.
Yeah, can you tell me more about like the challenge you're experiencing, like specifics of your struggles on like the day-to-day level, not just the overarching
Yeah.
picture?
Yeah. Well, I can like follow a schedule for a while, and then it becomes very oppressive to me. It's just the way my brain works. It just doesn't, I can't consistently do it and have joy in my life. I can make myself trudge through something, but I'm typically not as productive. And so, what I learned or what I'm learning through the program, which is just helped me tremendously, is how to make choices and how to not beat myself up for um, having needs that are inconsistent. So some days I need more rest. Some days I don't. And it's kind of like my energy level with work has always done this, and I can sprint and get a lot of things done. And then I really need a break. And when I would take those breaks, I would feel horribly guilty and I wouldn't go back for a long time. And the suggestion of just being able to plan, work like in a sprint for a month or so, and then take a week or so off and know that I have a due date to get back to it has just been so freeing. So that's one of the examples of what's just really worked for me now.
Oh, yeah, it's been so interesting and exciting getting finer tuned with our work together to make sure that you have personalized tools because that system doesn't work for everybody, but it works so well for you.
Right, right.
Uh, so, what was it about my videos that you liked so much that told you, like, ooh, I think I want to work with her?
Well, I think the most important thing was that you've gone through it. You can talk to people, and there are productivity people out there, and there's, different programs. But knowing that you had some of the same symptoms that I had of getting to where you're on the couch and you can't get up. I do have depression, and I have bipolar, and am totally, I call it remission. In remission, or I have a great doctor and things like that. But at times in the past, with my executive function issues of just being able to work like everybody else, my energy level is just different. I would get really depressed about it. And hearing your story and looking at the tools that you offer that are not a one size fits all tool. Like somebody else can really work well with that one, but this one really grabs me, and I function as like a grab bag. So hearing you talk about your struggle of the years that you were, just in the same place, in the same dark place. And now looking at how productive you are, just really, um, and and how much self-care you do for yourself and the way that you work, how much you accomplish with the way that you work, just really excited me about, well, maybe I can do that.
Yes, yes. Oh man, what I wouldn't have given to have a role model when
Yeah.
I was in that place. And that's kind of like the big why behind everything that I do, to be that for others. Even got a comment along those lines today on my new YouTube video, and like brings tears to my eyes because that would have changed my life. So that's
Yeah,
wonderful to hear.
and I feel like there were so many years that, I don't want to say wasted because I've needed to live into a lot of things, but and I used to feel like they were wasted, but now I'm just so happy to understand that there's a way for me to highly function, um,
Mm-hmm.
the way that my brain works.
So I remember when we first met, you obviously had some hesitancy with working with me because things hadn't worked for you before. It's a large investment depending on where on my sliding price scale you fall. So do you feel comfortable sharing some of those initial resistance or hesitancy you had, and how my program has shown you that it was a good option for you?
Yes, the price tag was high, and I was not quite sure that I wanted to do that. But the long term availability was really nice, and how much the program had to offer, I wasn't sure about at first. But there's so much content that that just blew me away. It really did. Like, yeah, I can go back and study, and there's just a lot of really good content. But one of the things that I was really afraid of was the Discord community. I have been in programs before where you have an online community and people, go, and I have found that I don't fit. I found before that it just feels like I have to be too engaged with people more than what I'm trying to do with my life. I'm kind of an introvert at times, and I haven't really gotten much out of those, but yours is totally different. It's totally different. I use it almost as a journal. Like, I go in, and just one of the things that you do with the energy levels, checking in the morning, I feel like I'm not checking in with myself unless I go on and check in. Like, it's one of my habits that I've done, and my day goes so much better because I can really, every day is different. And for so long, I assumed that energy levels, you get enough sleep, and every day you should be just up and ready to go. And so the community has really given me a lot of support, and I don't feel like it's taxing to give other people support because it's not that much. You can be as involved as you want or not. And so I really like, it kind of sets my day, and I totally did not expect that because I don't like these little online communities usually.
Same.
I'm just
That's how
not.
I've been too.
It's like I get tired too much peopling, but this one's really, really good.
Oh, thank you so much. That means the world for me to hear. And I remember when you first shared that with me, I was just so grateful because creating a safe, helpful community is really important to me, and ensuring that it stays that way even as it grows. So now that you've been with me for about 5 months, would you say that it continues to have the quality that it does as it's grown?
Oh yeah, and I there's not a lot of whining. People don't whine on your community because it's you set it up to where there's all these channels that you go to for specific things. And I have felt like in the past communities, people were I have felt responsible to give emotional support.
Right.
Yours is not like that. And so it really helps to fill me rather than empty my gas tanks. And
Right.
so, yeah, it's a daily thing.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, that was one of my biggest concerns when I was building out the community. It's like, how do I create a space where there is consent around what you see as someone who participates in it. And also, where when you are struggling and you are dealing with darker things, or you just need to vent, that you still have a place to go to
Oh,
share that. And so, having dedicated venting channels and difficult topic channels, and using the kind of redaction formatting that Discord has is wonderful. So that way, if you are talking about something that could be potentially really triggering for somebody, you could literally have it blacked out, and another person can only read it if they tap on it. So there's like this layer of consent that just makes it so much easier to manage your own energy levels. And
that's really huge. That's
yeah,
really huge. And you're on there.
I
And
am
so,
all the time.
yeah, I can remember I started with one of my writing sprints. I started to not check in the morning. And because it's really good for me in that liminal space to get to my computer. And so I was doing that, and then I'd check in later. In a few days, I missed it. And you were like, Lisa T, where'd you go? And it was so good when I got back on, because I didn't feel like I had to be there, but I felt some accountability of, even if I'm not doing it at the same time of day, I can, it's really good for me to check in, because I don't know when my batteries are fried, and just separating it out into what type of energy. When I'm writing and at my computer, I need some physical balance. And I know that, but learning the different tools to actually know when, like I took a little nap today, and now I can do my physical, but I couldn't have before. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't have gone from just typing to go and walk. I needed a break.
Yeah. Yeah. Breaks are amazing. And sometimes it's not what you think it is.
No, yeah.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, I think I need to just zone out all day with, the TV and working a little bit on my computer. But I found that just a little nap and I can be physical. So these are the tools that and I have, like, I call it my grab bag. I have, like, on my file, the tools that I really go to that
Oh my goodness.
yeah,
That's so
yeah.
amazing. I love that.
Like
Yeah,
walking
I
like
know.
a cat.
Yeah, I think I call them your anchor behaviors in the program. So, like, or your anchor tools. So, like, I literally have a Notion database of all the tools that I teach in the course. So they're easier for you to sift through when you need to find one. But
Yeah,
everyone finds like the two or three that are
right.
their anchors, that, like, if those start to slip, those are the ones you go back to first to kind of get the ground underneath you again.
Right. And I can also shout out, because it's been just 5 months. So I can also shout out if there's something I'm not sure will be the most helpful, and I get an answer. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That brings me to my next question. Because one of the things I try to say every time I meet someone new is that, yes, it's a group program, but I cannot help you if I don't know you're struggling. So the agreement is, if you're struggling, you communicate that to me in some way, shape, or form, either through the Discord community or one of the group coaching calls. And so, can you speak to how you've been able to access me, even though it's a group format?
yes, the workshopping calls are wonderful. And I love them. I will start to write on the community support channel, which I like that one a lot. And when I'm asking questions, or even in the resources, when I'm asking questions about Notion or anything, um, I get a feedback to write into the question template for the workshopping call. And those are wonderful. And I've noticed how you do it. Because you can have a workshopping call, and a lot of people, and I'm one of them, who want to just reach out and help, everybody. And sometimes it's helpful in the chat, and sometimes you're going down a different alley, and your take on it is so, and the way that you transition and allow other people to help on the calls, but also kind of take over. Like, I know I've seen your history, Lisa. I know what you're struggling with, and this is probably a good angle for you to take. It's so good the way that you navigate the workshopping calls in the group, and I feel very
Thank
taken
you.
care of and very safe.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Because that's one of the things that I've struggled with when I've participated in other, like,
Mhm.
larger scale courses and that kind of thing, that I haven't felt like if I needed direct access to the coach or the teacher. I didn't have that. It was just like the community, and I couldn't necessarily trust how educated they were on the
Right,
material, right?
right.
Yeah. So being accessible and having that lifetime access, weekly workshopping calls with me is like really important. I always
Yeah,
say,
and online, I mean, on the Discord just with you, you're very available, very attentive.
Mhm.
And the good news is the length of the workshop, which I was afraid of at first, allowed you to get to know my process and the way my brain functions because I was very active in all the things. I wanted to make sure I did all my homework and you know really went for it because it was good stuff. It wasn't fluffy. It was deep, good content,
Yeah.
substantive.
Yeah. I always say it feels like a college course.
It
Would
really
you agree that that's a good analogy for it?
I would, and it takes, it takes the week in between to kind of do all the homework. But I made a Notion database and I put all my tools in there and I, did it. And that was good too, that Notion. And because I was getting into that at the time.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I love our little tiny like corner of Notion people inside our community.
yeah.
But
Yeah, but
uh,
just setting up your personal system, I was floundering. I had things written, things on, I had things all over the place, and I really feel organized now.
mhm. So one of the things in module 3 or 4, I forget which one it is, I talk about how to build your system, but I'm very specific about I'm being descriptive rather than prescriptive. So I'm not making people use Notion. I'm not making people use a bullet journal. And can you speak to how that approach has been helpful to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been very helpful because I've tried everything. I can try to organize myself from here to a year from now and not just be organizing. And that was very helpful. That was one of your videos too about, just staying in the organization phase because my brain, it's sort of ADD. I haven't been diagnosed, but I'm all over the place and creative. And so I'm always recreating something. And so by the time I had gotten here, I had tried a lot of different things and I still use, so I've piecemealed things together and knowing a little bit about all the pieces and other people there on the program also knowing help me. So like for my, I still use Busy Cow for my calendar part, but I copy that into something else. And it just all works together now where I can see it. It's easy. It's functioning. I bought a paper. I couldn't wait for it to come in. An expensive, paper one that you had on there too before I even started the program. Well, I don't use it anymore because everything is so user friendly online that I don't need all the different things, and I'm not searching anymore for anything.
Hmm.
That was a huge help to me because when I got here, I usually always had a system in my life, but at this point, I just had too many things that I was trying to put together, and it really helped. This really helps.
Oh,
So on my habit tracker in my Notion, I have check in for the day with the community, and I also have a check for post. So I post in two places. I check in and I make sure I try another post because it helps me.
oh, that's amazing. Because I don't think we've talked about that specifically. Because often in coaching calls, we're talking about just literally how do you do the thing, which tends to be the big gaping hole in so many other programs. So, can you speak to about how getting yourself from point A to point B to actually do the thing you in theory want and or need to do is something that I help with?
You mean from organizing to doing?
Yeah,
Is that what you mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I have a set sort of way that I go about the day, and let's see, how do I? So basically, what happened recently for me, I'll tell you this big aha, was that sometimes in my life when I wake up and I meditate and journal first, I just get coffee and I meditate. I get up really early in the morning and I like that dark time. And sometimes that works really well for me. So that's on my checkout list. lately it's helped more just to go straight to writing, because in that space when I wake up, it's easier. And I'm taking a break from meditating and journaling right now. And I go and I post online. So I have all those things still in sort of my habit check off list, but it's kind of like I have it set up where I can choose different seasons with what I'm doing to get done what I need to do. And it feels so much more freeing than having to wake up with a regimented thing. So right now, I go straight to writing because I have on my calendar, I've planned this is my sprint, and I'm sprinting till next week, and then I get to stop, and then I get to have like a week off. And then I'll go back to leisurely getting up probably and meditating and journaling and going back to that sort of rhythm. But the thing that's helped me get things done the most is I don't have to have the same rhythm or season. My brain doesn't have to have the same rhythm or season all the time to accomplish and get work done. In the summer, I'll be more physical. So, it's just really helped to be free to have parameters, but at the same time be able to adjust them according to what needs to be done at the time. So,
yeah. So just tell me about how your relationship with yourself has changed.
so much better. So much better. I mean, I used to, I've been trying to write this book for several years, and it's getting to a good place. I'm really excited about it because it's the revision. We were talking about that before. It's in the revision stage, and I work for myself, and it's hard being your own boss. I mean, it's just really difficult because structure is very good for me. Usually, I can kind of mold myself to get into a structure. But when I was a nurse in my previous life, and still am, but I don't work in that profession anymore. So the structure, the external structure is not there. My creative side was getting to where it couldn't fit in an external structure anymore. It just had to come out. I was too depressed with it not. And so my relationship with myself, it was I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. My dryer went off earlier, so it's all right.
It was difficult to not beat myself up for not being able to provide this rigid external, from 10 to 11, you're going to do this, and from 11 to 12, you're going to do this. Or going from that to, well, no, from 10 to 11, I'm not doing this. And then I would never get done what I really felt was important to get done. So I was on two different extremes. And in the program, it's helped me to just really understand how I function naturally without an opposing external structure, but somehow pulling up an organic internal structure that I didn't know existed. So I could never congratulate myself because I was trying to, either impose somebody else's structure that they were, or some other program or something. And what this helped me to do was really look internal. And what you help is to kind of pull out what's already organically there that can work. And I didn't know that I had something there that could work. I always thought that I had to be fitted, to something else. And so my relationship with myself is now I'm trusting myself.
Yay.
It's internal, and I'm not having to, find an accountability partner unless I need one sometimes, or do whatever. It's not coming in from outside unless I create it. So it's been a huge shift, and I would say that particular shift has come recently.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited to hear that, because I can give you the tools, but you're the one that has to apply them. So you have done such amazing work.
I was
proud of
ready.
you.
I was really ready. It was time.
Yeah. Ooh, can you speak to that? How did you know you were ready?
I knew I was ready because I'd made a lot of changes in my life. I moved into a new apartment, and my life just shifted. I had gone through a open heart surgery. I had a lot of a big physical crisis and issue. And it was time for me to decide, what did I want to accomplish with my time here?
Mm.
And so I wanted to become very clear, and I wanted to live intentionally, and I wanted to stop, if I could, and I wasn't sure I could, I wanted to stop floundering, and I wanted to set some things. And so my life, when I got to the program, I got away from a 2,500 square foot house, threw things away a lot, and now I'm in 1,600 square feet. And so I had to choose. I had to make a lot of choices, and choices are exhausting for me and difficult. But I had done a lot of that pre work. Now it was more of internal choices. And so when I came to this, it was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to give up what I don't need. I'm ready to, in order to do this. And so when I had that conversation with you, and I moved, so it was a little of a stretch to spend the money and to do this kind of thing, but it turned out to be perfect. It just turned out to be exactly what I needed at the time, to get to a place where I could say, yes, I'm finishing this transition, and it was time to internally do more of the transition.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah.
Because that understanding the readiness part, I would say, is one of the hardest parts on an individual level, and also for me to help someone, because I can't force that readiness on anybody.
Right. But you're very, how can I put this? There's a lot of externally motivating and, giving programs to people out there. But what I'm so glad I found in this program was this organic, like trying to pull something out of you that's already there. You just need the manual. You need to know how to drive the and it's a piecemeal fit, and it can be sometimes always changing. But I've never had a program that, I'm almost hesitant to call it a program, because it's a knowing of myself that I needed to learn to trust and
Mhm.
know. It wasn't even just that I didn't trust myself; it was I didn't know that
Right.
I had, the tools that I needed. I just needed, the manual to drive this car.
Right, yeah, because I know that the journey ends with self-trust. Not that the journey ends, but, like, you arrive at self-trust at some point along the journey with the tools that I teach. But that's usually not what people are looking for. So I have caught in this weird rock in a hard place. It's like, I know this is what you need. But most people don't go through their life if they're struggling thinking, oh, I don't trust myself. I mean, they might, but they might not see that as the profound piece of information that it really is.
Well, I
So,
was so tired of telling people when my book would be finished. This year. No, this year. No, in 6 months. No, this year. I was so tired of those things that I would stop and start. And I was so tired of not knowing myself well enough to know that some things need to be started and stopped. It's like I did pottery for a while, and I loved it, but it didn't mean that that was my work to do forever. But while you're in it, it's, yeah, I'm loving this. And then people would say, why did you give that up? Well, it was a time for pottery.
yeah.
And, and there's a time for different things. And so, but I was tired of the things that I knew that I wanted. Like, I really know I want to write. And it's been with me forever. And it's the thing that has brought me through everything. And so that's the consistent thing that I couldn't find a way to make it long term. And this course really helped me uh, pull out the creativity that I wasn't used to using consistently, and learn how to drive that.
Uh, so, maybe to like tie this up in a bit of a bow. How would you describe your before after, before working with me and now? But less from, because we've learn about all the things you've accomplished since then, but paint a picture of what it is inside yourself before and after.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah, it's just with the mood. Well, paint a picture inside of myself. I was harried. I felt like I was either up or down. I felt like I didn't know. I was very, sometimes I could be very cruel to myself. Sometimes I could be very mean, and the things that I would say, and because I didn't trust that I would do what I'd said I would do for me. I'm going to finish this in, 10 days, and then I wouldn't. Or I'm going to, because I didn't know how. Like I knew, I didn't know how to, uh, how can I put this? I didn't know how I worked. I didn't know what could help me trust myself to do the things that I needed to do. And so I would beat myself up, and it was self sabotaging. So I guess what I can say is that I was self sabotaging. And now I feel like, if I hit a rough spot where, I can't get through this corner of something, I know where to turn. And I know that I have, this is a hard question to answer,
Okay.
to put into words, and I don't want to repeat myself, but I feel like I can do it. Like I can do my life the way that Lisa is built to do her life. And I don't mean to talk about myself in the third person, but the way that I am built, I can do it. I'm not a 9 to 5 person like the rest of my family. I can't work like that. I can work, or I just feel, I don't want to say I'm in control, but I feel like I am. I feel like I can mother myself. I remember coming in the program and telling you that my mother provided this wonderful structure for us growing up. And it was an external structure. She had 8 kids. She had to have an external structure. But I felt like she got me in a lot of ways, because she would say, Lisa just needs to go wander sometimes. And then I would come back. And I was always trying to provide that for myself, but as an adult. And, it changed as an adult, but I had to face myself. And I think in this program I did, with kindness, and say, you can do this. You can mother yourself to know when you need to wander and when you need to come in and when you need to do these things. I still get frustrated with the way that my brain works. And, my sister says they call it work for a reason, when you're going to get frustrated.
Yeah.
But I feel more like I'm an adult, and I'm in charge of the way that I need to treat myself to get the most out of my life.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I'm tearing up a little bit. That means so much to me to
And
hear.
your YouTube videos really were a precursor to let me know, wow, somebody had the same issues where they sort of wanted to give up.
Yeah.
From time to time, it was just, I don't know how much energy I have to try again, but I feel like a grown up. I feel like I'm ready to, ready to make this thing work without a boss.
Yes, yes. Oh, so amazing. Um, First of all, I wanted to give a shout out to Jane. I'm so glad you're enjoying this, and it's so nice to know you're here watching. Um, so I think the last thing I want to talk about is like, I remember you were hesitant about the price of the program. So even though I do have a sliding scale, you fell somewhere in the middle. So it was more expensive for you. But now that you've been through it, what is your understanding of the value of the program?
It's totally worth it. Totally worth it. If I could look at myself today, where I am with just the structure that I have, the way that I feel about it, and how it can be loose and yet accountable, the way that I feel about myself, and just the trusting. I'm still working on a lot of the. It's kind of like I'll be working on this stuff for a long time, but I don't want to even say working. I'll be using it for a long time to live. So some of the things with relationships and boundaries with myself, and some of the things that we've had modules on that I want to get into more, it's a lifelong thing. And I have spent money before on things, and that's why I was a little nervous, because but I feel like this is a foundational thing that I can use and grow forever. Like it's nothing that I'm gonna throw away. The use is gonna be ongoing because it's such. There's so many foundational things, and the content is so. I'm not a floofy person. Don't just pet me and tell me I'm good. And it's gonna work out, and all that. I need substance, and it has so much substance.
Thank you so much. So,
Very much.
what would you tell someone who is considering working with me and joining the Action Navigator?
I would say, literally what I would say is decide if you want to work. Decide if you really want to work, and you want to, and you want the opportunity to change, because it's an inside out change. It's not just gonna, it's not just a motivational thing. It's really decide if you're ready, because it can be life altering, and you don't have to do it all at once. Like I said, it's foundational and it'll be ongoing, but it's worth every penny. It's worth every penny. And you can ask my family, I'm pretty good with money. I'm pretty good with making it go a long way. And no, it's worth every penny because it just grows, it multiplies.
Thank you so much.
You're good. And it's because you know it and you've done your homework. You know this stuff.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, this has been so meaningful to me. Thank you so much for your time, Lisa.
I wish I could put it into words better, but
oh, you put it into words so beautifully, because you've spoken to things that I, from my perspective, have not been able to really put words to, and I learned some things today. So thank you so much. I know we have a few people with us live, so if anybody has any questions for myself or Lisa, feel free to drop them in the comments below this live stream. I think that's what it looks like for you on Facebook, and we'll answer them. And as I'm waiting to see if anybody here has questions, I'll just share. You can go to my website, accountabilitymuse.com, to learn more about my program, the Action Navigator, and also to sign up for my newsletter if you're interested in my free masterclass, Button Chair Time. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining us here today, and for everyone through the magic of YouTube time travel we'll be talking to in the future. Thank you for your time. Looks like we don't have any questions, so I guess we'll wrap up. Is there any last thing you want to say or share, Lisa?
No, I didn't think about it. I guess, yes, I didn't think about it before, and I'm going to repeat myself just one little minute. I didn't know that I could have an organic structure that was already inside of me that could just be brought out and know how to do what I need to do in life. I didn't know that it was here. I thought it was there. Without bringing it out of here. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I would have never dreamed that could happen.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely language that I have not had before. And that is so powerful. And I'm so grateful and honored that I was able to help bring that out of you.
It's been
Oh, oh my goodness. Well, thank you again. I think we're going to turn off the live stream so Lisa and I can say goodbye to each other. But thank you all for those of you who are here live today. This will be posted on my second YouTube channel, which I believe is called Stories to Motivate You. But if you go to my original YouTube channel and you go to the channels tab, so videos, community, channels tab, you can find it there. So yeah, thank you all so much.
Bye.
Mwah.